Kathy, in a previous video, you talked about taking on cabinet and the superintendent, pretty much. And I think there was partly a reason you felt you could do that is it wasn't like your first year as a principal and you were 35 years old. You had a lot of years behind you, and you knew the worst that could happen is, okay, I retire early. Everybody doesn't feel that much freedom at that point in their lives. But what I'd ask you to talk about is, what is your role as the principal of a school in your interaction with the district office?
Well, as a principal, you are the #1 advocate of your school. You're the advocate for the students, for your staff, for the parents, and you should, my belief is you should be an active member within the community because you have a very important role. I think in working with the district, you're right. What gave me part of my courage to maybe, as you say, take on cabinet and the superintendent was the wisdom that I had gained over the years. It is to your advantage to be an older principal than to be a young one. And I have a funny story I'd like to tell you when we finish talking about this. Please remind me about an instant in my office with my assistant principal and a parent. But being the advocate means that when you work with district office, I believe as long as what you stand for and you do, because it's right for kids, that's what it's all about. You always can fall back on, I believe this is what's the best thing for kids. Here's the data or here's the information that supports it. And I know my staff, I know my students, my teachers, my community. This is how we need to do it at my site. Because every site is different. And you know, you obviously want to keep a working relationship with the district office because you're going to need things from them. At some point, you students will meet who we kindly refer to as Dr. No, who is the Assistant Superintendent of Finance for Fallbrook School District. But when I first came to this district, I was told, oh, well, you know, you'll never get anything from him. And that was not the case. Because something that I found, for example, as we would open school and we always looked at numbers, the one thing that Ray is outstanding at is he's always been so fiscally minded that our school district has never faced, you know, difficulty in terms of not having the buffer it needs to be financially sound. And many school districts can't say that anymore. But at the same time, I also knew that about him. I also knew that I had to do what was right for kids. So when, for example, he would say to me after week 2, well, you know, it looks like your numbers are down and you're going to have to do a combo 4 or 5 class. Well, no, 4 or 5 class combo, I don't want to do a combo class. Combo classrooms, in my opinion, are not best for kids. So, no, I don't want to do that. That's not instructionally good. So, I'm going to wait. And we would kind of play the waiting game, and I would say to him, well, you know, I know we're going to get more kids, so I don't want to reorganize and have to reorganize again, so we're just going to ride it out, and I'm sure those kids would come. So another week would go by, a couple more weeks would go by, and yeah, a few more kids would come. But not enough. Maybe my 4th grade was at 26. My 5th could be at 32. I would also go to my staff and say, okay, this is where we are. You know, district office is saying, hey, you really need to make the combo. I'm not in support of that, but teachers, it really affects you on a day-to-day. What is your feeling? Because 5th grade teachers, you may end up with 32 kids, and 4th grade may have 27. And the teachers would say, no, you know, we don't want a combo either, you know. And so I knew that they would prefer not to have that because one of them was going to be that teacher. So again, it kind of gave me that ability to, I think, be stronger and say to him, you know, if my teachers are willing to carry the 32 and this room has 27, the others have 28, 29, why not? Instructionally, that's the best thing. Why would we not do what was best instructionally for kids?
Well, and I think what you bring up is a really good example. It was a non-issue in the 90s to create combination classes. When you are having those arguments, it's when we now had very specific grade level standards that created a situation where it was almost impossible for a teacher to teach both standards when they had a combination classroom.
Very hard.
So we have to educate other people of sometimes of those needs in a way that they would not have understood in the past. And I think what we have to figure out is, what is the culture of the district where you are in terms of that district office? How do people get what they need in that district office? Who's the go-to person versus who can be your advocate with everybody else in the district office? It also can be one of those things to find a way to remind them that they are here to help you. And I would give the illustration. I worked with a superintendent one time who was just getting a little annoyed at the demands that's what he was saying. The demands that the principal, this particular principal, was putting on him. And I started to laugh, and he said, "What's so funny?" And I said, "It reminds me of stories that you told me that you did as a principal. Didn't you say your argument was that's your job, is to be the advocate for the school, and now you're upset with this principal?" He looked at me and he just laughed. He said, "You're right, Connie, we need to listen to what she wants."
Absolutely.